Taliban says it's now in full control of Afghanistan after seizing the Panjshir Valley, the last area of armed resistance. The claims disputed by resistance leaders who are calling for a national uprising. The leader of a group of soldiers who staged a military coup in Guinea has said a new government will be formed within weeks. Ministers have been told they cannot leave the country. One of the great figures of French cinema, Jean-Paul Belmondo, has died. He was 88. His contribution to the early years of French New Wave cinema, particularly in Jean-Luc Godard's film Breathless, made him an internationally known star. And in what's described as a miracle rescue, a 3-year-old boy missing in rugged Australian bushland since Friday has been found alive. He was spotted sitting in a puddle using his hands to drink water.
Medical correspondent Dr. Jen Ashton with us as well, and we certainly have a lot to get to.
And we're talking COVID, so yes, you said the season's changed. We're going into fall. We thought this would be a fall, that everything would be opened up, but in respect to COVID, what are we looking like going into the fall?
Well, I think this is a good time to take stock of where we've been and then where we may be going. So let's look back, if you will, and look at least the summer of COVID and what it's done for us and where we are in this pandemic. First of all, in terms of testing, good news. Obviously, we have better access and better turnaround time, so that's improving. In terms of prevention, we're hearing more about these so-called NPIs, these non-pharmaceutical interventions, things like mask wearing, distancing, ventilation. They were important in the beginning. They're still important now. Vaccines, yes, we have several that are authorized. We have at least one that's approved. We have others in clinical trials for babies starting at age 6 months of age. So that is ongoing. And then treatments, lots of improvements in this area. Outpatient antibody cocktail being used more and more, and inpatient clinical care of those patients hospitalized definitely improved.
Yeah, I mean, we accomplished a lot this summer, and now we're all looking and wondering and, concerned. What is the fall? What is the winter going to look like?
Well, you've heard me say it before, and while everyone likes to make forecasts and look at these prediction models, no one has a crystal ball. There are more questions and variables here at this point, but things that we don't know the impact of for this fall and winter season, how indoor gatherings will affect the pandemic rates. Will influenza or flu be a player this year? It wasn't last year, thank goodness, but we don't know about this season. We have to see how the in-person school attendance pans out in terms of transmission, both for students and faculty and adults. And then we have to keep a close eye, as always, on our hospitals, on our healthcare system, that many of which are at or over capacity. And we will be looking at that as we look at all these elements throughout the winter and fall.
All right, Dr. Ashton, thank you as
always.
To
look at.
Of course. I know you got an eye on a lot of stuff for us. Appreciate you as always.
Dr. Jen is here with your daily dose of answers to your...
I love when you say that.
I'll try to sprinkle it in a few more times.
Thank you.
Just for TJ.
Will you get it together, Rose?
First question, is the flu season going to be worse because last year's was so mild?
This is the question that a lot of infectious disease specialists and public health officials are asking. And the short answer is the only thing predictable about a flu season is that it is unpredictable. But we tend to look at the southern hemisphere for clues because they're ahead of us weather-wise, and it's certainly in terms of the flu season. And right now, kind of conflicting. Australia, which most people...
Wow, the opportunity came back.
I just
right
did it.
When you said Southern Hemisphere, I got a twinkle in my eye.
There you go.
Okay, sorry, continue.
In Australia, they've obviously been very aggressive with their COVID lockdown restrictions, so they haven't seen very much influenza. But China has seen a moderate flu season, so people are concerned here that we may be seeing that twin-demic. So again, you're going to start hearing us talk about it all the time. Flu vaccines recommended by the CDC by the end of October, and they're already out and available, so people can get them starting now.
All right, another question here. Is frozen fruit healthier than fresh fruit that we get from markets in places like Melbourne?
See what he's doing there?
I heard.
This is a great question. And so from the nutritional science data, it is definitely as healthy. And there are some studies and some indications that it could be even healthier for several reasons. Number one, it is always picked. We're talking about frozen fruit now. At its ripest point. So it is locked in. Those nutrients and antioxidants are really locked in. They don't tend to deteriorate as they sit out on the counter or in the fridge. It can be cheaper, which is nice. They're really great to put in smoothies and shakes and all kinds of things like that. So it is definitely not unhealthy, and some people believe it can be healthier than fresh fruit. At the end of the day, just eat a lot of color. So any way you can get it, get it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Dr. Jen. And you can submit questions to Dr. Jen on her Instagram at Dr. J. Ashton.
We start with the coronavirus situation here in Tokyo, where a drop in daily cases has raised some hope one day after the city wrapped up the Paralympic Games. Officials in the capital say the number of new infections on Monday fell below 1,000 for the first time in 7 weeks. But experts say it's too early for people to lower their guard. Tokyo reported 968 new cases. That's nearly half the tally logged last Monday. But the number of seriously ill patients still hovers around record levels. Experts warn infections are increasing among family members. Roughly a quarter of over 125,000 cases reported last month were spread within families. This 5-year-old boy tested positive last month. His nursery has been closed after 5 children there were found to be infected. He passed the virus to his mother.
I got the virus from my son, but my husband was negative.
Both the boy and his mother have been staying at home, but the doctor who diagnosed the boy said he should have been hospitalized. This centenarian is believed to have been infected in her home. Her grandchild who visited her also tested positive. As infections continue to spread, doctors say it's too early to be complacent.
Although the case number may seem to be falling, we still need to be patient for a certain period of time until the hospital occupancy rate falls. We all need to continue the anti-infection measures.
Nationwide, about 8,200 new infections were reported on Monday, the first time the daily tally has dropped under 10,000 in over a month. But nearly 2,200 patients are seriously ill. Japan's main ruling Liberal Democratic Party is set to hold a leadership election later this month. The vote will effectively determine who becomes the next prime minister. So far, 5 lawmakers are preparing to join the race. Former Foreign Minister Kishida Fumio is the only one to have officially announced he will run. He's visiting party members to ask for support. Another possible contender is former Defense Minister Ishiba Shigeru. He's run in leadership elections 4 times. He said he's secured the backing of 20 party members that's required to enter the race.
The question is whether the election will lead to realizing a political arena that will be sincerely accountable to the public. If I can make that possible as party leader, then running for the post will become a big option.
Former Internal Affairs Minister Takaichi Sanae is also set to run. She's backed by a party heavyweight, former Prime Minister Abe Shinzo. They share conservative views. Kono Taro, the minister in charge of the vaccine rollout, is preparing to run as well. He met Finance Minister Aso Taro on Monday. Aso leads the party faction Kono belongs to, but is believed to be reluctant to throw the group's support behind him. Former Internal Affairs Minister Noda Seiko is another possible candidate. She's given up on entering leadership races several times before after failing to secure the 20 endorsements. The campaign is scheduled to kick off officially on September 17th. The vote count will take place on the 29th. Japan's defense minister says he'll promote cooperation with his British counterparts to achieve a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Kishinobuo on Monday inspected the British aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth, which is docked at a U.S. naval base in Yokosuka, south of Tokyo. The vessel made a port call on Saturday. Kishi exchanged views with the commander of the UK carrier strike group led by the vessel.
We have acknowledged attempts currently seen in the East and South China Seas to change maritime order in defiance of international law. Concerns over such actions expressed by European nations, as well as their presence in the region, contribute to its peace and stability.
The Queen Elizabeth left Britain in May. Last month, it took part in an exercise with Japan's self-defense forces and U.S. forces in waters south of Okinawa. Kishi said the port call by the UK carrier strike group in Japan has great significance. He added he believes its cooperation with Japan will help maintain and strengthen a free and open Indo-Pacific. Turning now to Afghanistan, where the Taliban claim to have completed the takeover of the whole country, saying they captured the last holdout of opposition forces in the country's northeast. With their occupation of Kabul on August 15th, the Taliban had control of nearly all of Afghanistan. But fighting continued in the Panjshir Valley, the base of anti-Taliban former Northern Alliance members.
We have conquered the last pocket of fleeing enemies and completed the takeover of the whole country.
Mujahid denied there are any disagreements within the group over forming a new government, but admitted there are some outstanding issues. He said the administration could be interim initially, and the group could make further improvements. Mujahid did not elaborate on the unresolved issues, but stressed the Taliban want to establish a new government for peace and stability as soon as possible. Attention is focused on whether the Taliban can form an inclusive government, as women and ethnic minorities were suppressed when the group was previously in power. In other news, Japan's Nissan Motor and Waseda University have developed a way to efficiently recycle rare earths from automobile motors. The minerals are an important part of the production of electric and hybrid vehicles. Nissan says the method involves melting a whole motor at a temperature of at least 1400 degrees Celsius. No manual disassembly is necessary. The automaker says it succeeded in recovering 98% of the rare earths from waste motors. This has brought reductions in recycling cost and time. Nissan says it's the first such technology in the world, and it aims for a practical application by the mid-2020s. Now, rare earths are key for making magnets for motors. China's dominance of the market for the materials and rising prices have been a challenge for automakers. Toyota and Honda are also pursuing technologies that enable them to use less of the materials. Next in weather, a tropical system is heading toward the Philippines and could bring downpours to the region. Our meteorologist Jonathan O explains the situation for there and elsewhere in our World Weather Report.
Hello, it looks like that a tropical storm named Constant is going to be bringing some rainfall into the central and northern areas of the Philippines as this storm continues to keep itself together and moving toward the north and west. It has a bit of a spin with it, so be on the lookout for that. And this is a 40-hour model forecast. Notice the rain continuing to batter, especially the east central portions of the Philippines. And so because of that, serious flooding could be associated with this system, and it's going to continue to move slowly toward the north and west as we go through the rest of this week. Speaking of some heavier rain, we have a low pressure system coming out of China, and especially to North Korea, but even northern portions of South Korea may be dealing with some heavier rainfall with this low pushing eastward, and then eventually the western areas of Japan will be picking up on the rain. Cooler temperatures on Monday in Tokyo. We go into Tuesday, slightly warmer, partly cloudy skies, high of 25 degrees. Meanwhile, heat's the big story into the western and central portions of Europe as we have high pressure in place. A low's coming in, so Portugal will be picking up some rain as we head toward Tuesday. Lisbon at 25, Madrid up to 32, Rome at 30, with southern areas of Italy looking at some rain and some storms possible as we go throughout the day on Tuesday. But look at this, still looking at 20s as far north as Warsaw and Berlin as we go throughout the day on Tuesday. That's a look at your forecast. Hope you have a good day wherever you are.